The Koch brothers are a political force, deep-pocketed conservatives whose backing could boost any of the many Republicans seeking the White House. Recently, they called 5 of those candidates to a private retreat in California. And while some journalists were allowed to watch, they had to accept some stringent ground rules first. Adam Riley has more.
The Koch brothers' Freedom Partners confab was public to a point. Go online and you can see the interviews that Politico's Mike Allen did with the 5 candidates who were invited.
You told NBC's Lester Holt, "I'm a big boy, I'll be showing up with my big boy pants on." What did you mean by that?
Mike, that's what you call a joke?
But here's what was off limits: the names of the wealthy conservative donors who were there to watch. Journalists were told beforehand, you may not report on anyone's attendance unless you are specifically granted an interview request. Media critic Michael Calderon smelled a rat, saying the ground rules could restrict journalists from reporting what's right in front of their eyes. But Politico's Ken Vogel, who covered the event, tells Beat the Press, we thought that the trade-off of accepting those ground rules was worth it for the insight we would gain into this incredibly secretive operation. And several other outlets agreed, including the Washington Post and the Associated Press. File under some access is better than none.
That's a tough one. I'd have a hard time. Once, I could see myself agreeing to it and then breaking it after I got there. Oh, sure, no problem. I'm not going to report on who's there, who the donors. But I think I would have a really hard time. I'm not really critical of the ones who did it and got what they want, but that seems to me the second half of the story is who was there and under what circumstances and what kind of money did they pay to get there.
Well, it might be the entire story. I mean, it's not like we don't know what the Koch brothers want, and it's not like we don't have a pretty good idea of what the candidates are going to say to that crowd, barring some sort of Mitt Romney 47% secretly recorded moment. So what else is there to know besides who's contributing? That's the problem here.
I do think, I agree with you that I don't have a problem with negotiating access. I mean, every time a journalist agrees to go off the record, they're essentially saying, I'm not going to report what you're about to tell me, right? It's that's understandable. I get that. I do think that if you accept ground rules like this, you have 2 obligations. One is that you have to report it and share those ground rules with your audience. You have to tell your readers, this is what I did and this is why I'm not telling you who all the donors were, because I'm not allowed to. And you have to recognize and tell your readers this is part of a PR initiative by the Koch brothers to repair an incredibly damaged image that has accumulated over the last several cycles. This is not access to seats, so what we can learn about the secretive organization. This is the Koch brothers trying to spin the media by allowing them in to see this one window. The other point I want to make is I don't have a problem, as you said, with the journalists who make that deal. That's up to them. I do have a problem with Mike Allen, a reporter, agreeing to be on stage interviewing candidates, to agree to essentially say, I'm sure he wasn't paid or anything like that, but to agree that I'm going to go on stage
wasn't any good either.
and do these interviews on behalf of the Koch brothers for these donors, I think is beyond the pale.
I'm in the half a loaf is better than none with this one, and maybe in this case it's more of a quarter of a loaf. And the reason being is, as if a reporter asked me, I had this offer to go, I'd say go, because you never know where it will lead, and not necessarily at the event, but maybe 6 months down the road. And so getting in, talking to people, developing sources, perhaps in some cases surreptitiously, I don't know. It's tough to both play that game, but at the end of the day, going is better than just saying, forget it, I'm not going to go.
I'm with you, Joshua. I think the only reason you could go and justify it is if you did say these were the conditions. And I don't know how many people said that.
It seemed mixed from
what
I
saw. It seemed mixed. I mean, if they said it, I have no problem with it. If they didn't, then that's pretty bad. You always think about how would I feel if I mean, that's just bad.
Yeah, but it felt very insidery to me to have the head of Politico, Mike Allen, the face of Politico, the name that's on the note every day, and then to have him both being the interviewer and then agreeing to that, I don't know, that struck me as a little odd.